From one super long race, the longest of the games, to the shortest. The men's 100-metre final, the two blue ribbon events to come, the women's 100 as well after this. There is the lineup, and what a lineup it is. Ajayi and Eseme in the middle lanes. They start as favourites here. They have to, really. They are both super fast. Ajayi, the third fastest in the world this year, with 9.84. Eseme has been in incredible form too. Well, let's take a look at these men. The Ghanaian, Benjamin Azamati. He was a football player as a kid. His PE teacher told him to take up running, and how that's worked. He won his heat yesterday. Season best of 10 seconds, said it was fourth 4 years ago. Can he go at least one place better here to get a medal? The powerfully built Australian Edward Nketiah. Boy, he's the biggest fella out there. There's a few rugby clubs who would like his presence on their books. There's no doubt about that. He goes in two, the Aussie. Rohan Kennedy's teammate right beside him. Now, he did play rugby. Actually, rugby union as a unit junior for Australia, the man from Brisbane. Personal best in his semi-final, 9.94. Don't discount Rohan Kennedy. He's a quick starter. Kayinsola Ajayi goes in lane 4. The 21-year-old Nigerian, 6th in the World Championship last year. He won the Diamond League in London last week in 9.84. He's in wonderful form. He won his semi-final too in 9.94 here tonight, just a couple of hours ago. The Cameroonian Emmanuel Eseme goes in lane 5. He won his semi-final in 9.89. A new national record in that red strip. 5th in the world indoors in 2026. He makes the most of every metre of the 100, and his form recently has been fantastic. Kayinsola Ajayi of South Africa. Well, the South Africans with a brace of performers in this one. Makes you wonder if they can get amongst the medals. He goes in lane 6, Kayinsola Ajayi. Can he get a gift here for South Africa? Jeremiah Azu of Wales, a big roar for him with plenty of Welsh supporters in the crowd. He was 5th 4 years ago, European indoor champion last year. A couple of weeks later, he took the world indoor title, and he won his heat in 10.10. He's in great form, Azu. Cheswell Johnson of South Africa, he won his heat in 10.21. His lifetime best 10.02. He was a world-class long jumper with a switch to focus upon sprinting. Has certainly worked a treat, hasn't it? Because he finds himself here in this Commonwealth Games final. We are guaranteed a new champion. Ferdy Omanyala dipped out at the semi-final stage. Just didn't have the legs on this occasion. The powerfully built Kenyan. 5 Africans, though, go in this final. Eseme, does he start here as favourite? Won the African Championships. He already has a gold from earlier on this summer. That was in Accra, in Ghana, in May. 9.89 in his semi-final. Ajayi in lane 4. 9.94 in his semi-final. Don't forget Rohan Kennedy in his semi-final. 9.94. He's broached new ground here tonight. The Commonwealth Games 100 metres final. Azamati of Ghana in 1, Edward Nketiah of Australia 2, Rohan Kennedy of Australia in 3, Ajayi Nigeria 4, Eseme Cameroon 5, Leila South Africa 6, the Welshman Azu 7, South Africa's Johnson in lane 8 to left of picture. Well, away they go. Really good start there from Ajayi in the green of Nigeria. And look at Rohan Kennedy. Kennedy is matching him stride for stride here. Might even take this one. And he is going to take it, or does he? No! Coming through the Eseme for Cameroon. Wow! Talk about holding a form through the last 10 metres. I would have sworn Rohan Kennedy was going to take that one. 5 metres out, he was in the lead. He'd chased down Ajayi. He'd worn him into fatigue there through the last 50. Rohan Kennedy did everything necessary. But the champion is Emmanuel Eseme from Cameroon. Winner of his semi-final in 9.89. 9.83. It's a new games record. Boy, oh boy. And he had to run that fast to get the better of Kennedy. There's no doubt about that. Because the winning time, 9.83, was only 100s quicker than Kennedy's massive new Australasian record. Not just an Aussie record, an Australasian record for Kennedy. A superb silver. And that's without Gout even being here. And Ajayi, well, he took the bronze in 9.90. 9.91 for Leila, not even good enough to get on the rostrum.
Well, Danny Crates looked at the stat earlier on. We haven't had a win at the Commonwealth Games in sub 10 seconds since Kim Collins in 2002, but now Emmanuel Eseme shatters Ato Bolden's games record set back in 1998, lowers that by 500ths of a second. The writing was probably on the wall, wasn't it, in those semi-finals? And Eseme, he didn't get the best start. We'll have a look at the replay. I think his reaction time was all right, but then he was just left in the first 10 or 20 metres. Rohan Kennedy exploded out of the blocks. It was 9.94 for him in the semi-final, and he's found nearly another 10th. He's been chasing that Australian record for so long, and finally it's his, alongside a Commonwealth Games silver. You know, I wonder, he's been on the circuit, he's been running the Diamond League races, and he's probably walked away from those thinking, you know, I'd love to run an Aussie record on that sort of stage in those wonderful stadiums with great competition. But I think it's a little sweeter when it comes here at a Commonwealth Games and it's accompanied with a medal. Let's wait on this replay, but for me, Kayinsola Ajayi was a little bit tight in the first 50 metres, and in so many of his races this season, the Nigerian, it's just kind of happened in the last 50 metres. He's just put his foot down, increased the cadence and pulled away. For me, Kayinsola Ajayi was a little bit tight in the first 50 metres, and in so many of his races this season, the Nigerian, it's just kind of happened in the last 50 metres. He's just put his foot down, increased the cadence and pulled away from everyone. Today, the Nigerian was under intense pressure and he couldn't come up with the goods.
What I loved about this one, Hannah, was the way that Eseme stuck at it. A lot of people would have tightened up there with it. Seemed like Ajayi and Kennedy in the blue yellow there ahead of him and beating him. But over the last 10 metres, he must have taken 1.5 metres out of them. It was astonishing, his form through the last 10 metres. Talk about mind over matter. Wins there from Rohan Kennedy, 9.83 to 9.85. It looked like more daylight in that frozen shot, but it's a games record for him. Kennedy's consolation for that silver, so close to the win, was that area record. And what a massive new Aussie record, of course.
For a moment, you thought Kennedy had it there, didn't you? I think for a moment, Kennedy thought we had it. It's never over till you cross the line. But Emmanuel Eseme just comes through in the last stages of the race. But we have waited so long to get a sub-10 Commonwealth final, and we get 4 under sub-10 in these conditions. Men's sprinting in the Commonwealth is so strong at the minute.
Well, Rohan Kennedy's silver, the first ever Australian medal in the men's 100 metres. Azu was 5th. He ties the best ever Welsh finish in this event. He was also 5th back in 2022 himself. And, well, just astonishing stuff. There it is. Emmanuel Eseme, 9.83, a games record in the 100. Boy, oh boy, who'd have thought in these conditions? 1.3 the win. Kennedy, the silver there for Australia, 9.85 an area record.
When you look only at the final results, it seems like Emmanuel Eseme simply stole the victory in the last few meters. But in reality, this race was won much earlier, the moment the athletes had to adapt to the rainy conditions. The wet track completely changed the nature of the race. Normally, the 100 meters is all about explosive starts and maximum speed. But on this night, the decisive factor was who could maintain their speed when everyone else began to fade. Kayinsola Ajayi entered the final as the favorite. His season best of 9.84 and his explosive acceleration made him one of the most dangerous sprinters in the field. From the gun, everything looked to be going according to plan. He took control early and held the advantage through the middle stages of the race. But the rain slowly began to have its effect. On a wet surface, every stride gives back a little less than usual. Even the smallest loss of traction can turn into lost centimeters, and eventually, lost hundredths of a second. Meanwhile, Rohan Kennedy was running a completely different race. The Australian wasn't forcing the pace in the opening meters, but his technique proved perfectly suited to the slippery conditions. After 60 meters, he began closing rapidly and soon moved into the lead. With only a few meters remaining, it looked like the gold medal was his. But this is where Emmanuel Eseme's story begins. The Cameroonian wasn't the fastest starter. He wasn't leading at halfway, and he didn't produce the most impressive early splits. His greatest weapon was his ability to hold his speed when everyone else was beginning to slow down. While Ajayi started losing momentum and Kennedy's stride frequency gradually dropped, Eseme kept moving at nearly the same level. He reached top speed slightly later than his rivals, but he was able to maintain it longer than anyone else in the field. The final 10 meters became the defining moment of the race. Eseme looked stronger than every other athlete on the track. Every stride was a little more efficient, every movement a little more controlled. Those small advantages were enough to turn what looked like silver into an unforgettable gold medal. The clock stopped at 9.83 seconds, a new Commonwealth Games record, and one of the most impressive sprint victories of the season. This race delivered a powerful lesson. In difficult conditions, the fastest athlete doesn't always win. Sometimes victory belongs to the runner who manages speed the best, preserves technique under pressure, and stays composed all the way to the finish line. On this night, Emmanuel Eseme did exactly that in one of the most dramatic 100-meter finals we've seen in years.